particular lecture is about composite materials. It is an additional lecture that is not part of this course, but I think it's worth kind of talking about it. When I think of composite materials, I think of two types of composite materials. I think of a laminated composite material and a sandwich structure. A laminated structure is one where you have multiple layers of lamina, and each lamina is comprised of fibers and a resin and a matrix. The fiber and the matrix make up a lamina. So think of your shirt is made of fibers, but that shirt is too flexible. What the matrix gives you, it gives you the ability to have a more robust shape and geometry. While the fibers carry the majority of the load, the matrix is there to give it the shape. And also it allows for the transfer load from fiber to fiber. So that's how one lamina is constructed. Now, if you create a laminated structure, you're going to have multiple lamina that are stacked on top of each other. And how you get that stacked on top of each other? Take as an example a fiber epoxy system. The epoxy from one lamina to the next lamina, when you cure that in the oven, is going to cause something called polymerization. It's going to cause the resin from adjacent layers to get bonded, or you're going to have the secondary bonds to occur. So you're going to have a cross polymerization process. And as you apply more and more layers, you can create your structure. Now, the one thing about composites that quite amazing is that you can provide and tailor the properties. So if I have a stacking sequence, since I have a layers of 0, 90, 30, minus 30, I can choose those angles which way the fibers can go. And I can do that by looking at the application and then determining what ply angles do I need for those laminas so that I can get the superior performance that metals may not be able to give you. So that's for laminated composites. And then for sandwich structures, it's basically similar to laminated structure, but you have an upper phase sheet and a lower phase sheet. And in between, you have a very weak material like a foam or honeycomb, something very weak. Between the laminates, by doing that, by separating those laminates apart, say I have a 0.5-inch layer laminate, I can make a sandwich structure that's 0.25 inch at the top, 0.25 inch at the bottom, almost the same weight, but by separating the laminate in two and putting something between that's basically air, and it's not air, but it's very light, like honeycomb cell or foam, then you can get superior bending performance because you get like an I-beam effect. Like an I-beam is very similar. I-beam, the top of the eye and the bottom of the eye is very stiff. In the middle, you have a little line, a flange, but that gives you very nice bend and stiffness. So surfboards, a lot of systems are that require that, have that. Rudders of an aircraft are made of sandwich structures. So those are the kinds of two things I look at out there. You have examples of composites here, like wood, rubber, plastic molding. Why composites are important? I basically said it, but I didn't say other things like fatigue properties are better. Typically, the toughness is better, and you can achieve more tailoring of these materials by combining them together. There are disadvantages. A lot more properties need to be measured, a lot more. That's a significant issue, and it can be very expensive. And there's a recurring cost. When you make composites, over time, you're going to have to do inspections of the composite. You're going to have to repair them, and that costs a lot of money. And those repairs need to be validated. For example, for airplanes, if there's a bird strike, I need to go to that location, sand it out, put more plies, doublers, whatever is needed, and then be able to go from there to put it into operation. But before I put it into operation, I have to inspect it. I have to proof test it to make sure there's no issues with it. Composite materials are 10 times more expensive than metal, and the manufacturing techniques to make composite material structures can be quite expensive and slow. Please.
Yeah, I was just curious, is it cheaper to like make a big sheet or stock of composite material and then machine it down? Or is it better to like almost like cast?
The material is very expensive. So you want to use the actual material you want to use. You don't want to be shaping things and discarding things if you don't have to.
Yeah.
So that's why we try to have very little waste. And now there is research going on today on how we can reuse composites, how we can recycle composites. But right now, what we try to do is use an optimized material because it's very expensive. The fiber and the epoxy are very expensive, 10 times or 20 more times expensive than metal. Most composites consider two phases, like I discussed before. You have your matrix and your fiber, and a typical systems that you see here are metal matrix composites. You have ceramic matrix composites and polymer matrix composites. Here at the number 3 here, typically the matrix composites are made of glass, carbon, or Kevlar. When you look at a 787 all composite fuselage, it uses a combination of this. Now, Kevlar material, Kevlar fiber is very nice because it provides impact resistance. So that's why it's used for bullet vests, for example, is used for applications where you need to be able to contain high impact events. And here's what I discussed before. You have your fiber here embedded in the matrix, and the fiber has great modulus. You have your matrix that has very low modulus, but in combination gives you the composite modulus that you need. That's what the stress strain curve looks like, and typically it has very low amount of ductility, so it's fairly brittle. But the matrix tends to be very soft and ductile. It's just the combination tends to be brittle. And this is what I explained before verbally, but I like doing that if I can. You have your laminated structure here in the top right, then your sandwich structure that I discussed, and the bottom two are sandwich structures. So one is foam and the other one is a honeycomb structure. But that gives you a feel for what I meant with the two types of structures I was discussing. There's other types of laminar structures that are used in industry. Automotive tires have it. You have the printed circuit boards that we've been discussing. Snow skis are very notorious for using layers of plastics, metals, particle board, because you need the skis to be, I don't know if anybody here skis or snowboards. I'm still trying to learn. It's pretty hard for me. I grew up in Puerto Rico where we go swimming, not skiing. But the internals will have particle board to try to reduce the weight. And then you have windshield glass is an example of a composite structure because you have two layers of glass. I don't know if you're aware of it, but on either side you have a tough plastic, and you're doing that so if there's a rock that hits it, it keeps everything binded together. And so yeah, that concludes the composite lecture. But before I conclude, I want to kind of talk verbally about the types of approaches that exist for manufacturing composites. The first one that we use in industry is a hand layup. You take a layer of pre-preg material. Pre-preg means that somebody else did the work of embedding the fiber into the matrix, and it's sold in a roll. And that roll is going to be semi cured. It's not fully cured. So that allows you to cut it, kit it, we call it kit it, and you put it down layer by layer. You vacuum bag it, and then you put it into the oven with a cure cycle. You apply pressure as well to remove any porosity, any voids, and that process gives you a composite system. Then we're looking at new technologies, or they're not new anymore, but automated fiber placement, where it's a machine laying down the fibers and epoxy onto a mandrel. And that allows you to not only optimize the composite over a surface, but allows you to give you the shape needed, the ply layups that you need to achieve the final design. Other methods that people use is resin transfer molding. Resin transfer molding is an approach where it's similar to the resin transfer molding I discussed for plastics earlier in the lectures, but uses very similar approach where you inject epoxy into a fiber layer, and then you apply compression loading to basically compress that resin in, cure it, and then you can eject the part by removing the molds. Another approach that has been used is called the filament wound composite structures. That's using filament wound. So you're wrapping fibers around a mandrel, usually to make cylinders. And that allows you to make cylindrical parts typically, but you can make square parts and other kinds of parts too. Those are the basic major approaches, but I think that's sufficient for what we're trying to achieve. For this particular course, if you want something deeper, I can send you some of my composite material videos and recordings for that.